so excited to do this mini training this afternoon, and it's been part of my journey. So I love it when, as I'm going through and cleansing and clearing and you know, getting to the next level of my own expansion, I get to simply share that out. So super fun, and wanted to do a little bit like a deeper dive into something that I got reintroduced to in my yoga practice, and it's called the Paragraha, which simply means non-clinging, non-grasping, releasing grip. It's such a fundamental practice in life, and I wanted to share it as a way that you can really relinquish control, you know, because what we try to control controls us, and that leads to dis-ease, dysfunction, dissatisfaction, just a lot of discord with life, and that's not how it has to be. So a paragraha, I love a quote. It's just like, just let that shit go, right? And it's so exhausting when we try to hold on to things and try to control an outcome and try to make it be a certain way. It's such a simple practice, yet it can be so elusive. It's holding on to something, and we have the perception that, you know what, it wants to go. Like, it wants to go anyway. That is why you feel the need to grasp for it. And that's quantum physics in essence. Let everything that wants to go, go. Because when you do, you actually make room for everything that wants to come in. And I'll just put it in the simplest context. Open hands can't grab, right? And gripped hands can't receive, right? So when your hands are open, when you release your grip, you can only receive. Another example of this is from a great book that I just read by C.H.I.L.L called It's Not Your Money. And she describes Paragraha in her book and says, like a feather, right? You try to chase a feather, but the actual frequency, the friction, the current, the air current that you generate trying to chase the feather pushes it further away, as opposed to when you just sit, the feather might fall on you, right? It's the frequency of the movement. We chase something that vibrates, it actually pushing away. And that's the beauty of a paragraha. It's like, now you can see this example show up in your daily, like rushing around. When you rush around, and I'm so susceptible to this, you rush around, you actually generate a frequency, right? An energy around you, right? You're stirring it up. For the Peanuts, Pigpen always had like this dust cloud, or like when you go to dust your house and you get the dust cloud, that's, you know, energy. So you're rushing, you create this energy around you, which makes you very susceptible to accidents. Chasing and rushing generates momentum and a quantity, right, of energy that radiates. It radiates in proportion to its charge. And again, quantum physics. So if you're rushing around, you're blasting this kind of whirlwind around, this momentum around, you are now susceptible to not seeing things, creating accidents. And when you simply just melt and release your grip from the things that you're trying to grab, the more in reach they become. Just coming into stillness, accepting what is in peace, the feather may simply land in your reality. So what if instead of clinging to the identity of like who you think you are, what you think you have to do, what you should do, you just let it go. And just let the moment to moment, right? evolution, because we're creating in every moment. Just let that come about, knowing that it's all in divine timing. You shift from clinging to this like external identity to an internal knowing that all that you are is already inside of you. And that is a frequency of love. So I'm going to offer 4 exercises that you can put into practice to practice non-clinging. The first one I offer is the peaceful practice of contemplation. Contemplation is like this, it's a beautiful art. It's a beautiful art, and it's this, you're concentrating and you're meditating kind of rolled up into one. And you sit and you just start with a sigh, right? The second you sigh, your body releases hormones. When you sigh, you're actually literally releasing. So just do it. It's a physical release. It's a physiological mechanism that causes the sensation of rest and relax. And now you simply just get to be with what were you trying to hold on to? You sit in the stillness and you're like, I'm just observing the feather falling. I'm going to sigh. I'm going to physiologically have this release. This brings up for me, I love this quote. I actually wrote this quote down. I'm going to read it from Krishna. And it's, let your concern be with the action alone and never with the fruits of the action. Do not let the results of your action be your motive, and do not be attached to inaction. Right? So it's like just being with this simple stillness of the moment and letting out a sigh, a bit of release. So that's the first exercise I would offer up to you. And the second, to practice a parigraha, is this: today, or maybe sometime this week, choose one thing that you totally enjoyed doing as a kid, that you could spend hours doing. And it didn't have anything to do with like, I have to produce this amazing Lego castle, or I have to do this, piece of artwork because it has to come out a certain way because it has a deadline and I have to turn it in and I have to prove myself, and all these stories that we create. But just those things that we used to do as kids that like we could literally bear witness to the creation of it in the moment without any concern for its outcome. And like that is the whole idea of a parigraha, is the fun is in the moment of the creating. I picked up those plastic lanyards at a toy store over the weekend when I was taking my daughter out. Remember I grew up in the late 80s, early 90s. We were obsessed with these plastic lanyards, and we would make the most beautiful bracelets. And it wasn't even about making the bracelet. It was just the fun, the hours of like just braiding them and twisting them, the colors. And I'm like, I'm definitely going to do some of that this week, and just for the joy of creating. So pick something that you love to do as a kid and just put it in your practice, and just sit and just enjoy the experience of it, right? Just for doing it. I know a lot of my clients love to knit, and I find that some of them get caught up in like, oh, I have to knit this blanket for this. And it's like, well, is that the joy, or are you taking the joy out of it? I bring it back to running. For me, running is always just like such a metaphor for life. Run to run, right? Not to clock in the mileage and get it done so that you can look a certain way, be a certain way. It's the understanding that you are actually being fit with each step you take. So allow yourself the pure joy of that knowing, right? The second you take your first step in a walk or a run or anything physical, your body is actually already generating the chemistry that aligns with fitness. So each step, you're being fit. It's not, I will do this so I can get fit. It's you're choosing into being fit and just enjoying that. Same thing in business, right? It's like create an offering in your business because it's your heart's passion, not to make sales. It's like, oh, I'm creating this because it feels so good in this moment. Cool. So number 3 exercise that I would absolutely love to contribute is this. And it has to do with your workout. So during your workout today, you're going to work out. You're going to move your body because it feels good and it's in alignment. Tune into what your body actually craves. Like move in a way that feels really freaking good, right? This is how I always work out. I never have an agenda anymore. And this is coming from an ex-personal trainer who always had to have a program and agenda and, you know, everything printed out and following along. And but working out isn't necessarily about an agenda or a plan or what your trainer told you to do. It's like you get to choose to not be so structured. So I went and worked out today. I was like, it's the first thing I'm going to drop into my field. I'm just going to trust that, right? Who knew? And it's like, okay, like, how can I move with what feels good right now in my body? You know, maybe it's like jiggling your belly around or putting on a song and dancing, or maybe it is push-ups or sitting in meditation. It's maybe that's just like the first step in just letting go. It doesn't have to be on a set schedule or an agenda, but like what feels good in your body. And then the last one I would offer up is actually a Kriya. Kriya is a Kundalini practice. It's an intentional movement, and this does have some intention around it, but it's such a beautiful one. It's a Kriya for change, and I really look at this Kriya as a Kriya for non-clinging. And I'm going to drop in the comments, I actually made a little YouTube, and I'll drop that in the comments, and it's a separate video showing this Kriya. And the idea here is this. And this is the bottom line in a paragraha that I really want to share out. One thing we definitely know for sure is that everything changes. And when we understand that everything changes, like nothing is permanent, everything is temporary, and we really drop in and tune into it, it's like, wow, how cool is that? Every moment, right? Every cell in our body, every photon of light, it all shifts. Like I always look at this as a physiologist. In 1 hour from now, I've had enough cell turnover, like 500,000 times your cells turn over, generate, regenerate, restructure, renew. So in 1 hour, you're like, you've kind of like restructured yourself into a new human, into a new version of yourself. And that's beautiful. It all gets to shift. So what does that mean in terms of non-clinging? It's very interesting because there's no constant except change itself. And I'd offer that there's one other thing that seems consistent and constant, and that is our own ego's attachment to our identities. Like our ego wants to hold on to what it knows as familiar. And it's kind of, it feels clingy because it's clinging onto something it can't, right? You change, but your brain won't let you see your own growth, which becomes very limiting. And it's out of fear, of course, because your brain is like, I don't know, whoa, like you're growing and you're evolving and you have all this potential. And that's kind of scary because I don't know what that looks like. But it creates quite a stress node in your body. And the reality is that your reality is always changing. You are evolving, right? Whether you like it or not, you're evolving. You're taking in oxygen, your body is experiencing this turnover, this cellular renewal, but your ego is attached to the past perception of who you think you're supposed to be because that's what's familiar. So then it tries to like kick up all these doubts, which can feel like that's pain, that's suffering, like self-doubt and, oh, you know, not feeling good enough. And that's really, it's a place of suffering when we're hanging on to this past identity, even though the reality is that we're moving and changing. And again, like night becomes day, it's going. According to Yogi Bhajan, Kundalini guru, he said doubt steals 3 feet of your auric radiance. So when we step into this contracted state, we're dimming our light and we're literally robbing ourselves of our own aura. So this attachment of your mind, of your ego, is why change can feel so scary. Like that's why change can feel so miserable. It blocks our communication with actually what is happening in our environment and around us. Everything does change. So to transmute this darkness into light, this Kriya is great. And again, I'll drop that. I have it as a clip on YouTube, and I'll drop how to do this Kriya. It's super easy. It's really just a breathing exercise. And you get to release your grip from your own identity, even just for a few minutes, just to choose to be happy with the acceptance of all change, right? When we accept that change is, it gives you access to the full radiance of your soul because you're releasing your grip on yourself, right? That change is a natural and wonderful part of life. And that, here's the cool thing. Change is a natural, wonderful part of life, and it can always be relied on. And so that we could take great peace and comfort in that. It eases the mind into seeing that there is nothing to be afraid of when we trust in change itself. And this Kriya is kind of an opportunity for the body to feel around that, the soul to sink into that, and the brain to just like unhook itself from the fear of the unknown, because there is no unknown. Everything is known. What's known is everything changes, right? So I just wanted to drop in here and offer that. It's a great way to start the week. I'll definitely put the Kriya in the comments, and comment below if you have any more questions. And please, with all my heart, share this out to anybody who you think would find value in just the 4 simple exercises to practice non-clinging this week. Release your grip and open up to receiving the abundance that is all around you, to receiving love and joy, and opening your aura up to all the radiance that I would love nothing more than that. Peace out.